Now it's time for our next discussion with a Mayo candidate looking for your number one, or indeed maybe number two or three, on this December 29th as part of general election coverage. Today we're joined in studio by independent candidate Stephen Kerr. Describes himself as a proactive citizen journalist for over 13 years, dedicated to exposing corruption and wrongdoing that is harming our country and our people. Through his media platform, The Irish Inquiry, he has extensively highlighted issues outlining areas to do with government overreach, NGO influence, and in recent years he's volunteered his time to support families facing bank repossessions. He's also lobbying Mayo County Council to improve drinking water quality. But of course his mainstay and his main platform is in the context of immigration. First of all, thanks for coming in, Stephen, and for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom.
Your bread and butter is this media website, is that correct? Or do you work somewhere else?
This is what I'm doing at the moment, the Irish Inquiry. I was working with a major, with Setanta Sports up in Dublin for a couple of years up until the middle of the pandemic. And I was quite outspoken at the time, actually, around how we were coping with and dealing with the whole COVID situation. And unfortunately, we had to part ways with Setanta Sports, and that gave me an opportunity then at that point to concentrate on the Irish Inquiry. I actually only started the Irish Inquiry in April of 2020, just to try and get some other angles out there on what was going on at the time regarding the lockdowns and the various measures and regulations that the government were putting out. I suppose most people would know me. I mean, I've had other media platforms prior to that. But as I say, I started the Irish Inquiry in 2020. But over the last 2 years, I suppose people will know me mostly for highlighting issues regarding our uncontrolled mass immigration. Okay,
and let's talk about that. In your manifesto, you say you want a nationwide conversation and a referenda on key immigration issues, tackle corruption and profiteering within the asylum industry, introducing more effective border controls, fast-tracking asylum claims, which often you say take years, scrapping the self-deportation policy, refusing entry to those who destroy documentation, and exploring alternative solutions. Can I put it to you, Stephen, that an awful lot of the political parties in their manifestos either are stealing your ideas or are saying more or less now the same thing, that up to now maybe to a degree they got it wrong. It all happened so quickly, it was firebush tactics. Now it's time to settle and put a more structured approach in place.
Yeah, well, I remember it was a Pat Rabbit on Vincent Browne's show some years ago talking about, that's what you do in an election. You make promises that you can't keep. So yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the parties now are coming out saying the sort of things I've been saying over the last couple of years, and have taken some abuse for it, I might add, unfairly. But yeah, I mean, there's been no consultation whatsoever with communities on this issue since it began.
Right. I've seen many of your videos over the years, particularly the ones from Brafey. What would you do differently to what is being done now, say within the laws of Europe and the laws of Ireland? What's your answer to assisting these people who are fleeing wars? Do you have sympathy for them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would say I don't know if any other media outlet has highlighted some of the conditions that these young children are living in Brafey House. I mean, not Brafey House itself, you have the Brafey Woods Hotel, and then you have the Sports and Events Centre. There are so many rooms in that facility that don't have any windows, windowless rooms that kids are staying in. So there's no ventilation. So it's a real serious fire hazard. And we've raised that on numerous occasions. As well as that, like, I don't really get any credit for helping some of these people. Like, we helped an Algerian family down there who were trying to expose some of the conditions down there, and they contacted me. Which some people will think is strange, but like, we have tried to go out of our way to highlight the conditions down there.
Where should they all be, in your view? Where should we be putting them?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, first and foremost, as far as I'm concerned, and people that I talk to, we can't take anybody else for the moment.
So we're full.
We are full.
Are we over full?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've taken in too many people. Like, for example, if you go back to last summer, we had an event in Castlebar outside. 200 people attended. And we asked the people there, we put a motion to the crowd that Mayo cannot take in any more refugees or asylum seekers until we have adequate services and resources to look after everybody in the county. And we asked people to take a vote, and 200 people put up their hand. Everybody there put up their hand. Now, fast forward a couple of weeks later, Mayo County Council passed a very, very similar motion, saying that they weren't going to interact with Roderick O'Gorman's department on that issue. Now, we don't know if that was the case or not. We don't actually know if they did cease communication with them or not on that. But
but to answer the question, what are the government not doing with the people who are here? We'll talk about deportation and passports and all that in a minute. But they're here, right? There's 100,000 Ukrainians alone here, not to mention all of the other migrants who've arrived from other war-torn countries. They're here now. So is it better for them to be in badly ventilated accommodation than on the side of the road?
I suppose it probably is, but are we prepared to accept that? Like, it should never have happened. The way that they got rid of the planning laws literally overnight with the stroke of a pen. Like, you have people, we'll probably go on to talk about housing in a little while, and we'll talk about like the difficulties.
But the horse has bolted. I mean, let's not talk about what they've done wrong. If you're elected a TD for Mayo, you're saying Mayo should not take any more. You know, what is your plan? What do you do with the people that you're concerned about down in the Brafey Centre? Well,
look, let's just say, first things first, we can't take any more for a start.
Okay, we've established that. Yeah.
Secondly, people who have come in here having destroyed their documents, that's a criminal offence. These people need to be detained and deported straight away back to the country that they came from. Other than that, I mean, we have to look at speeding up these claims. I think it's over 50-something weeks now is the average it takes for these claims to be processed. So that needs to be much quicker. That's very important we do that. Deportations, I was just watching the leaders debate the other night, and it was brought up by one of the leaders on RT. There were 1,792 deportation orders last year, yet only 98 were enforced. So again, that needs to be looked at. And you just asked me, like, do I have compassion and care for these people coming in? I do. And back in May, we got rid of the mental health screenings for people coming in here. So we don't know, the sort of mental health issues that some of the people coming in here might have, and how that will play out in this country. So, look, there's an awful lot. All I can tell you is people are very unhappy with everything that's going on, with the lack of consultation. I'd like to talk about that as well. And the amount of money we're spending, like 5 million a day on accommodation alone. And yet we have no money for anything else. The amount of doors I've knocked on, and everybody's got an issue, it's really, life seems really hard for people at the moment. There's no quality of life.
Okay.
And that needs to be our priority. We need to prioritise people who have lived in this country all their life, who've worked here, who've paid taxes here, whose family have lived here for generations, and they see, for example, on the housing list, they might be on it for 10 plus years, and to see a family who've just arrived in the country for the last year or two, and they're kind of get ahead of them in the queue, and people are just think it's really unfair, and it's I want to represent the Irish people.
Okay. All right, you say Ireland needs border control. How will the border control work? What's your theory as to how it should work?
I don't know exactly the answer to that, but it's definitely something that there needs to be a discussion about. I can tell you, I was speaking to somebody who works on a port. Their security at a port. I won't tell you where exactly, but they tell me that people are just slipping through the cracks. It's pointless. It was like they were put there just to tick a box to say, yes, we have security there, but they don't have the resources whatsoever to manage that in any effective way. Now, that's what I'm hearing from somebody who actually works in that position, in that job.
That's anecdotal, with respect, and I'm not suggesting for a moment that it may be true, but we cannot confirm that is the case. And that is one of the criticisms, Stephen, from other opposition parties and politicians about you, is that you do a lot of scaremongering.
I don't know. I don't see that. I mean, I'm talking...
Well, in hindsight, have you ever said on any of your videos anything that ultimately you weren't able to back up?
I mean, I'm happy. People call me all sorts of names. I would say, prove it. Show me where I've said this or that. And nobody has. My Twitter page has nearly 10,000 tweets. I have over 150,000 subscribers on all my four major platforms.
Okay.
I mean, I've said a lot over the last 4.5 years. I've no defamation suits against me. I've had no legal challenges against me.
Would you describe yourself as left, centre or right?
I think, the last time I was on this show, you made some comment, Tommy, that I was associated with or part of the far right, which I absolutely disagree with. I think in this day and age, you can't be all left or all right on every issue. You need to be a little bit left on some issues, a little bit right. Like, for example, in terms of economics, I would be very much of a left persuasion.
Okay.
We need to do our best to look after everybody, the vulnerable in society. Where the left have gone wrong, and everybody grows up being on the left. But then as you get a little bit older, and especially the way the left has gone at this moment in time, if you look at like the open borders policy, like I've asked the question, how many people is too many? And they simply can't answer or won't answer that question. As well as that, if you get into the likes of stuff that's going on in the schools, where we've had, what do we have now, 72 plus genders? Like, so the left are pushing this. You have Paul Murphy, TD, who doesn't know if his if his child is a boy or a girl. They're going to make that decision when they're old enough, he says. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's been pushed in school. So that's where the left is
right, though, isn't it? As the parent, until that child is 18.
Well, it is, but I think that's going to cause more damage to the child. Like, that's putting the child in a very confusing situation.
But when I ask you, Steve, as to what, you're saying you want border control, but when I ask you how that meets out, you're not able to tell me how. You say we need to discuss it.
Well, absolutely we do.
But surely you must have a theory on it yourself.
See, Tommy, the problem is we've got a very short period of time here to have an interview. I didn't know what you want to talk about. I have some notes here. I have lots I want to talk about. I want to get on to the cost of living. I want to get on to housing. The first thing I've said in my leaflet is that we need a nationwide conversation and a referendum on these issues.
Okay.
There has been no discussion from the mainstream media. I don't know what degree you talk about our immigration policy on this programme, not as much as I think it should be or the people want it to be, in fairness. And, I just want to be... I never wanted to be a politician. I ran in the locals, but...
And you nearly got elected.
And I did, yeah, because I'm saying the things that people want to hear, because nobody else is saying them. Like, you're asking everybody, all on your one-on-one interviews, you've asked all the candidates the question. Maybe you want to put the question to me now.
Well, the question I've asked every candidate is in relation to immigration is, have we taken enough? And in fairness, you were one of the first politicians to say up front, yes.
Yes, and I'm the only politician that have said that up front. And that's why I'm in this position. The people want me to run. The people want me to be a powerful voice for them.
Sure.
And that's really why I'm here. I'm not claiming to have all the answers to all these questions.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But for example, on your platform, have you referenced the fact that there's an application for an iPass centre in the Dolphin Hotel in Crossmolina? Because they've come out yesterday and said it's not happening. No,
but there was planning, obviously, on Mayo County Council's website. It's been sent to me by numerous people. So, yeah, look, people send me stuff and they ask me to highlight it. As I say, I have a big platform there and I try and do that. I try and represent the people. We have TDs in this county, but we don't have any representatives. They don't represent the views of the people. Well, can I say, I think you do represent the views of an awful lot of people in the context of your immigration theory, but because people feel that if you say it too publicly, you're deemed as being a racist. So that's the issue. And you know what? It's nothing to do with race. It's simple numbers, it's economics, it's common sense. Yeah. Did you ever live abroad yourself as a matter of interest? I did. Yeah. I did. I lived in Australia for a year. I spent, I spent 6 months travelling India on my own. I spent a month living in the Amazon jungle with the Shipibo tribe. Okay, so you've been around 7 years ago. Yeah, you've been around. Okay, so let's talk about other proposals that you want to talk about. Sure. Housing, and I know people are kind of tired of it at this stage, as to where we're going with housing. We know the problems. What's your solution? Yeah, so many problems. Well, first of all, what I hear a lot from people is about the housing list. I've mentioned already that, so I think there needs to be fairness involved in this. People who have been on the housing list the longest need to be prioritised. That's the first thing. And are they not? Well, not when you hear stories of people who are on the housing list 10, 12, 15 years, and then you hear of a family who's come in within the last year or two, and they seem to have a nice little house. And would this be a family from abroad? Absolutely, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so in other words, that the migrants are getting preferential treatment for housing versus the people who've been on the housing list, Irish people for years. That's what I've heard on numerous occasions from people. Yeah, and the council would probably disagree with that, or do they? Do they engage with you? Oh, I mean, I've sent so many. I'm sick sending emails. I don't really send them anymore because I just don't get a response. I don't get a response from the council. I don't.
Why do you think that is, Stephen?
I don't know, because I'm only asking legitimate questions, and I'm asking them in a fair way. So I don't know why. I presume I don't know why. I'd love to know Roderick O'Gorman's department, who's over our immigration policy. Mm-hmm. I've contacted them dozens of times, and I don't get a response. Yet I'd say if I wanted to convert a building, I'd say I'd love to see the emails coming in and out of Roderick O'Gorman's department, because there's a certain person like me who doesn't get a response. But I'm sure if you want to convert a building, there's a lot of engagement there. I'd love to see those emails, but it's across the board. I mean, even in my community of Brafey, I know the chairman of Brafey Community Council was on with you in the last year or two, talking about putting on a meeting. That meeting has never happened in Brafey. There's never been a meeting organised by the Brafey Community Council. The council don't get back to me. I mentioned when I was chatting with Teresa here on the debate last week, Alan Dillon's office don't respond to me. It's just across the board. There's no response. It's like science. Don't talk to him. Don't give him anything.
Okay. So prioritise Irish people for housing that are on the housing list. Yeah. You also want to ban vulture funds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell me why?
Well, sorry now. Vulture funds are just private investment firms, and basically they're buying up an awful lot of property around the country, and they're raising the interest rates, and people are getting into difficulty, and they have no compassion for these people, and these people are getting turfed out, and there's going to be a tsunami of evictions coming down the road. Now, it was Fine Gael's Michael Noonan that invited the vulture funds into this country after the last crash, so he's accountable for that. But I was actually just up at I was in Dáil Éireann there a couple of weeks ago. I was invited to a presentation by journalist Theo MacDonald, who had a report out, the MacDonald report, just on the damage that the vulture funds have done to this country and the slew of evictions that are coming down the line. It's massive. Just a few other things just on that, yes. just before I go on. With the Ukrainian refugee centres, Roderick O'Gorman's talking over the last few months about consolidating the Ukrainian accommodation, these centres, and there are tax-free payments, which was 400, now it's €800 tax-free incentives for landlords to house Ukrainian refugees over Irish people. So we know that there are serious problems. There's no availability of housing at the moment. You check Daft every day, and whatever's there is quite expensive. But this is not helping. If you're incentivising landlords to take in Ukrainian refugees over Irish people, it's just not helping the problem. The other thing I'd just like to say as well is regarding long waiting times for planning permission that we heard. I mean, you've discussed it numerous times yourself. And it just doesn't seem fair when someone has got their own land, they've got their own money, and they just want to build on their own land with their own money. And you compare that, and they can't get planning, and we don't really know why these delays are so long. But you compare that with how they, again, overnight, stroke of a pen, got rid of the planning exemptions for IPAS accommodation. So the will was there to do it when it was for international protection applicants or migrants coming into the country.
But not when it came to our own people.
That's what it seems like.
And just on that point, a WhatsApper here says, how does Stephen differentiate between a foreign doctor working in one of our hospitals and a refugee? If they're both people of colour, I feel that Mr. Kerr's rhetoric is making life difficult for genuine people working in our health service.
Sorry, I don't really understand. What's the question?
The question appears to be that it's the colour of the skin that appears to be your difficulty.
But I have never mentioned anything about a colour for skin. I mean, I don't know who that caller is. I've no idea, but show me anything I've ever said to do with colour of skin. As I said to you, it's numbers. Okay. That's the problem.
Right. All right. That's housing. In relation to health, I mean, do you not feel that maybe if you were affiliated to a political party, you would have more of a chance of manoeuvring your ideas to become law ultimately, rather than fighting it on the backbenches as an independent and a lone voice? Would you like to have been with a political party? I imagine the answer is probably no, is it?
No. I have a few more things I'd love to say on housing, Tommy. Maybe you can come back in a minute.
Okay, well, we have limited to 25 minutes.
I just wanted to give one solution that nobody is talking about with housing. I have a load of solutions here, but one quick fix is modular homes. I know they've got a bad rep because we play...
The price of them.
They pay through the nose. But I was chatting to one of the top engineers in the county just there yesterday. He's very familiar with putting up these modular homes. They're on average about a third of the price of a traditional build. They go up. You can literally have it from foundation to finish in less than 3 months. He said you can have it done in a week or two if you get them on the back of a truck. They're fully compliant, have a A+ BER rating, 150-year lifespan, and there should be no issues getting planning permission for these structures. And they could be rolled out very quickly.
Straight away.
Because we do have a problem with skilled workforce. So, I mean, it wouldn't be, to build for traditional builds, it's going to take more time. So this is a really good quick fix, the modular home. Sorry, but I just wanted to mention that.
That's fine. Health. So what do you want to do with health?
Well, yeah, you mentioned me about myself involved with a political party. I don't think it would work. I mean, people do say to me, you're an independent. What can you do as an independent? And I would say, well, what can the likes of, let's just say, Alan Dillon do? Because he's part of a party. What can he do that's any different? Because the likes of Alan and,
well, surely he has a direct line. I mean, I don't want to be targeting Alan Dillon for any reason, but I mean, if Alan Dillon is a junior minister, which he is, that gives him an inside line to all of the senior ministers. He has the ability to connect.
Yeah, well, fair enough. He has the ability to connect, but at the end of the day, what we've seen happen is Alan can go and tell anybody anything, whatever he believes, and whatever he's going to try and do. But at the end of the day, the whip system will kick into place and he will be told what to do, because the government is 15 people. It's the cabinet. 15 people tell everybody else what to do. And Alan will have to do what he's told. And that's simple as that. And if he doesn't, he loses ministerial position.
Okay, so you couldn't live with the party whip scenario.
It just wouldn't last very long.
Yeah.
I don't think it would last very long. I'm here to honestly represent the people, and I'm not going to tell them one thing and do another. I wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay. An independent inquiry into the recent unprecedented rise in excess mortality. Can you define what excess mortality is? Are we talking here over the COVID years?
Excess deaths at the moment. So
were you anti-vaccine or pro-vaccine?
Do you mean COVID vaccine you're talking about? Well, when you say that, I'm all about choice. People should have been given the choice to take it.
But were they not?
Well, not really, because I decided not to take it for the various reasons I had.
I know lots of people who decided not to take it, but they weren't forced.
No, but they couldn't include themselves in society. We couldn't go in and have a coffee. We couldn't go and meet our friends in a pub or in a restaurant. We were outside in the cold. So
ostracised if you didn't.
Absolutely. Yeah, so life was very difficult then. So I stood up for what I believed in. I mean, I had serious questions about, well, everything to do with the lockdown and the various physical and mostly mental effects that it's having on people. We can talk about those in a minute. But you've brought up the vaccine. I mean, I spoke with Professor Luke O'Neill outside News Talk studios one day, and he spoke to me for about 10 minutes as we walked. And I asked him about the medium to long-term data safety on these COVID vaccines. And
was this videoed, by the way?
It was.
Yeah, and you put it up on your...
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
And what Professor Luke O'Neill said to me is, yes, we'll know that. Yes, it's true. We don't have any medium to long-term studies or data on that. We'll know that after hundreds of thousands of people are vaccinated. So they don't know what this is brand new technology, this mRNA technology. It's brand new, and we don't know how it's going to affect people in time.
But is there a link between that and your call for an independent inquiry into the recent unprecedented rise in excess mortality?
Well, let's have an inquiry and find out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But is it referring to COVID?
Well, it was just at the start. The excess deaths started, I think,
21, 22?
22, yeah. Sorry, no, I have it. February 2022, actually, is when they started.
So would you say it was just more than a coincidence?
Well, I know we had no statistically significant increase in excess deaths over the COVID period.
Right. Okay.
To do with COVID. So it's not COVID. So something happened. Now we have the lockdown and all the various effects of lockdown. Like lots of people missed their screenings for cancer screenings, important operations. Like it definitely had an effect on mental health.
So do you believe, Stephen, that we shouldn't have lockdown at all?
Definitely not to the degree that we did. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Sweden, for example, took a very different approach.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we went too hard with that, absolutely. And if we just look at how children were treated in schools, a lot of what happened doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Time is almost against us, but I know that you have proposals in relation to infrastructure, extending the Western Rail Corridor. You're a supporter of that, am I right?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a fantastic
What
idea.
about greenways? Do you like the idea of greenways?
Well, if we have to pick one or the other, I'll definitely be going for the Western Rail corridor.
Okay.
First of all, for sure.
Anything else in relation? By the way, how would you use the Apple tax money?
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. So there's a lot we could do with that. We could set up a bank, a state-owned infrastructure bank.
Right. This has been proposed by one of the parties, I know. Go on.
Good. Well, that's one thing. That's one of the things that, as I say, when I was up at the Dáil Éireann there a couple of weeks ago at this presentation, the Master of the High Court, Edmund Honohan, spoke as well. And he talked about utilising that Apple tax money, because as things stand, what they're going to do with that, they're going to put it in one of the main pillar banks. We have 2.5 pillar banks in this country, and they will profit off the back of that by lending that money out, because they can lend up to maybe 10 times that amount. So they will profit from that. So why would we not just set up our own bank with 14 billion in it and use it to work on infrastructure projects?
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot we could do with that money if the will was there.
All right. This question has come in numerous times, and I am over time, but I will put it to you, because, as I say, it has come in from loads and loads of different people, and I just want to get it here in front of me just before I ask it, because I want to make sure that I'm putting it to you the way that it's coming in from lots of people. Could you please ask Stephen Kerr, as I believe this is a really important question about his campaign, to free the convicted Garda killer Aaron Brady. Aaron Brady is serving 44 years of a capital sentence for the murder of Detective Adrian Donoghue. Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment that you have a campaign to free this man, but do you? No. I mean, if you look at, I've been producing media content for 14 years. Right.
The Irish Inquiry just started in April of 2020. I've highlighted dozens, if not hundreds, of issues over that time. Now, one of them being this. One of them being that issue, yes. That was a very high-profile case. Now, I attended a lot of that case. I sat in and I listened to a lot of the evidence. So I was interested because the family obviously believe 100% that their son is innocent. And I wanted to explore that a little bit more, find out, is there anything to this? Why do they have this belief? So I give them a platform and I interviewed them for 4 hours. A 4-hour interview. The father of this man, Aaron Brady, who's jailed. And I suppose from the perspective, the way I'm coming at this is, if there's something to what they're saying, if this man is actually innocent, well,
why not appeal it?
That means that the actual killer is still at loose.
Okay.
I wanted to find out the truth of that. So what I would say...
But you're not campaigning to free Aaron Brady, are you?
I'm campaigning for the evidence to be looked at in detail.
Okay, so an appeal would be the way forward, wouldn't it?
An appeal has happened, and he wasn't successful in that appeal.
So surely that's the end of the case, is it?
I don't know where they will go with that. As I say, there was an awful lot of points raised in that that I don't think there was proper answers given to. I would encourage people, check out the 4-hour interview and look at the evidence yourself, because that's all I was trying to do.
Okay, I'm just being told his appeal was rejected yesterday. Would that be the case? Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that yesterday, actually. No.
All right, fair enough. Listen, in 45 seconds, Stephen, talk to the electorate. Tell them why a number one or a number two. Maybe you don't mind what number you get, but obviously you would need a lot of number ones as an independent. Why do you believe you could make a difference to Mayo if you represented the electorate in Dáil Éireann? Yeah,
okay, thanks, Tommy. Yes, so I mean, as I said when I was chatting with Teresa here last week, I'm not a politician. I've never been in politics before. To be honest, I don't really want to be in politics. My life would be a lot easier if I don't get in. But in saying that, I just feel an obligation to stand up and help people and represent people and be a powerful voice for people. And that's what I've been doing over the last couple of years on this issue regarding our uncontrolled mass immigration. There's a lot of things we didn't get to discuss today. I have a lot of ideas on our cost of living and ways that we could address that, especially, as well as housing. But yeah, mainly it's just that I want to be a strong, powerful voice for the people and represent their views as best I can.
You have a website, so people can read in more detail all of the proposals. Your website is...
yes, it's just stephenkerr.ie.
Okay, that's STEPHEN Kerr, KERR .ie, and you get all the details of the areas of concern that Stephen has and why he's looking for your support. Look, all we can do is wish you, as we do all the other candidates, the very best of luck. Stephen, thank you for coming in and for speaking with us today. In a moment, we'll be asking you to take the plunge. Why? Stay tuned.